Hey everyone, today I'm with Fariq
That's me.
and we're gonna do a little podcast style kind of thing, and we're gonna talk about the A9, and this is gonna be the review for the Sony A9 that I have been teasing for so many months. It's gonna be fun, it's gonna be cool, so stick around.
Would you like to come on a wonderful trip with me?
Sony A9. The Sony A9 is considered by many as, including me, as the best camera of 2017. I enjoyed it personally. I think that it has so many qualities that was supposed to be in a lot of the professional bodies of last year or the year before, and what we got to use the camera for was a lot with sports, and that's where Fariq comes in, and he used it to shoot UM's sporting event. What's it called?
It's called SUKMUM, which is Sukan Mahasiswa Mahasiswi
University
University
Malaya.
Malaya.
Yeah, so that's where he's studying right now, and
Yeah, so it's a 1 month event where 12 colleges, or 13 if you include the unit law campus, which is
the people that don't stay on campus.
yeah. So let's say 13 colleges compete to get points. So the last event.
So I guess SUKMUM is like the Olympics for UM, where there's like 12 to 13 colleges that compete in competitive sports. There's football, there's
All kinds of
swimming,
sports, yeah.
there's badminton, there's all your favorites and some of my non-favorites. It's whatever. So you started with the handball stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I think that even from my own perspective, looking at the photos, it looks like they're below the level that you're used to. I think that even reviewing the photos themselves, you can see that there's a lot of, I would say, awkwardness. Like there's the photos look too vanilla, as in there's not much action going on. There's more like just shots where that you need to hit the shots, but there isn't like those kinds of moments where in sports that that, oh, this is a really cool moment. There are those highlights in the photos, like you can see where they start like really jumping for the ball, or where there's saves and where there's tackles and things like that, like this picture. But even from this picture I can see that there's still something wrong. It's like this is definitely not the kind of photos that usually you would take. And if the person doesn't change and what changes is the camera, then that means the camera is the actual reason why this is happening, right? So there's some highlights of photos, and this is really just, I think it all comes down to your natural response. Once you see an action and you want the camera to respond the way that you're used to, but then again this camera responds differently. With the A9, I think by shooting it, there's this level of getting used to where the learning curve is a bit different, because with the D7100, especially shooting sports, it's like that you have to take that 1 extra second for it to focus before the shot is hit.
Yeah, because using the D7100, because I used to be focused on subjects, because I'm so used to using the single focus points instead of where the A9 has 693 focus points.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to change it to tracking points instead of using single focus points. And also, I'm not used to the electronic
Viewfinder?
viewfinder, yeah.
Okay.
So it was kind of weird for me at first, but then after a few events, I got used to it pretty easily.
And I think that it's evident in the photos, in the progress, where for the first few, with I guess in the first week, with the first few events, it was kind of lackluster. Especially, I think it's also because of the type of sports that you were shooting, because it was netball, it was netball, and then it was handball.
Yeah.
But when it came to football, a sport that most people are very familiar with, and you also being a football fan, you knew the kind of photos that you would expect from a photographer. And I think that starting with this event, the camera started to shine because this is fast paced. This isn't a crowded kind of sport, and it's also a sport where it's held in high regard, where the pressure of actually getting nice photos is much higher, and at the same time you also yourself reach a level where you have to take photos at that level. I think that first impressions, even with my first impressions, it's the camera instantly blows you away.
Yeah.
You know, the A9, it's not like, although there is that learning curve, it's not like you yourself find yourself lost in the camera. You know, it of course operates the same way as any other camera. When you want it to shoot, it shoots. But the thing with the A9 is that it gives you this whole playground to play with. Like, it's a sandbox, and you can change the focus, you can change what kind of focus you want, you can change what kind of image quality you want with the RAW, and you can change JPEG and stuff like that. All these things are in cameras. But with the A9, I think the edge is that the responsiveness, it's really, really different, because I think this is the next step in cameras, where if you talk about other technologies, like if you talk about pings and lags with internet, and you talk about refresh rates with TVs and with monitors, I think this is the next step in camera technology, where the responsiveness of the camera is another, it's another way to measure how good the camera is, because it's not just the image quality anymore, because megapixels are overrated. So many people are just pushing for megapixels, but at the end, the camera suffers because it doesn't have a very good processor, or it doesn't respond that well. The camera does so well in so many things, and image quality, if you're talking about megapixels, it only has 24.2 megapixels, which is technology from 2013. The cameras from then already had, even my D7100 has 24 megapixels on a crop sensor, but with the A9, it's 24 megapixels on a sports camera. And on a sports camera, to push those many megapixels, you can even shoot 14-bit on the camera. It's amazing, and it also shoots at 20 frames per second with no blackout on the EVF, so you can shoot like you're shooting on a TV. It's actually shooting, it's taking pictures. You yourself don't realize it. At first, it was kind of weird to not see the mirror just flapping in front of your eyes. It's like nothing is happening, but so many is happening. So much is happening, and so with image quality, nothing really suffers with it shooting that fast and that much. And after that, the speed, as we talked about, is really, really good. But I think that through looking at the photos, and I think you might have realized this as well, is the autofocus.
The autofocus.
Yeah. So, did you find, like, I can see in some of your photos that some photos are out of focus. Can you talk about more, like, why is there some photos that are like out of focus, or sometimes the focus just jumps back and forth?
I think it's because that I turn on the face detection, so it detects a lot of faces, so it tends to be out of focus at times, especially during bursts. And you can see here that because there are faces behind there, so it tends to focus more on the people behind the subject, and the subject does not show his face by that much.
So because the face of the subject is only like 50%,
Yeah.
and the face of the background people is like 100% because
That's
you can
true.
see the whole front of the face. So you could say that the face detection is helpful, but then at the same time, it's also something that hurts the
Yeah.
camera's performance as well. And that's kind of it's like a double-edged sword. It's like Darth Maul with a
So
double-edged
it's
sword.
good, but sometimes it's not good. But most of the time, it helps a lot, especially during sports, because you have to track the subject because the subject is constantly moving.
Yeah.
So you have to track the subject well, and the A9 does a perfect job because you can see in these shots, the focus are on the faces of the subjects.
Yeah.
I think you don't have to worry about the image quality when it comes to A9. It just the thing that you have to worry about is just you getting the shot because the A9 does everything else perfectly.
Did you go more for the tracking or more for the zone or more for the center of the frame?
It depends on the sports that I'm shooting, the event, because for football or soccer,
No, it's football. It's
football.
never soccer.
Okay. I used most of the time I used the face detection tracking, but for events such as the badminton and tennis, I use single focus points
Oh, okay.
because it's
Okay.
easier because they're in the same spot most of the time.
Moving on, there's also a lot of situations where you had to shoot in low light. So what was your thought process then? Like, if you used, I think personally, if we shoot a lot of concerts before, and low light situations, we're used to that. You know, we're not afraid to just stick the camera up to ISO 6400 and shoot whatever we can with whatever light we have. But with the A9, did this change? Like, were you just, I'm just gonna do it the same thing, or did you actually take advantage of the sensor, or what did you do? What was your thought process when you shot?
At first, I was afraid to use high ISO.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to using the D7100, where it cannot perform that well.
Yeah.
So okay, so the first event that I use a high ISO is the football event.
Yeah.
So at first I shot using ISO 6400 and
Straight out.
it blew me away. It was so clean that I had no doubt to push it to 1200. 12,800 and 25,600.
Wow. So even went up to 25,600. That was really cool. And you can see that at 6400 it's really, really clean, but it does start to just to break out a little bit at 12,800. And I guess this is also because you underexposed some of the photos, and then you brought it back in Lightroom. So aside from, do you have anything else? Like, do you can just talk about the whole experience of shooting the A9 for sports?
So what surprised me was that the A9 can shoot a whole day of sports event without me not stopping. So that surprised me a lot because based on my experience, that didn't happen for other mirrorless cameras. Yeah. Overall, I think that the A9 is the perfect camera for any occasion.
Cool.
Not only sports, but so we do concerts, sometimes we do photo shoots, so it's perfect for all those events. I think that the 20K ringgit?
Yeah, 22.
22.
Yeah.
I think it's worth it.
Yeah?
It's
cool.
worth
I
it.
mean, that's just for the body. And if you're a person that already shoots sports and already does concerts and does photo shoots, you will already have all the lenses that you need. And these kinds of lenses are the things that you don't need to upgrade. And you know for a fact that when you buy one thing, you're going to use it for the next 4 or 5 years. But the camera itself, that body, that's important. And if you're someone coming from DSLR, you can just change up the body and you can still use an adapter with the A9 because the A9 actually supports with the 5-axis, it actually supports the stabilization. So I think that with Sony's, you gain so much more because you're spending that 22K on so many more things, not just on a rugged body, because you shot in rainy situations and the camera didn't bug out, it didn't stop working. Team sports, you shot individual sports, and the camera could do it all. And that's a testament to what mirrorless cameras have come from, from just cameras that people use because they're easy to use, because they're easy to connect to the internet, until now where it's actually used for professionals. And it was actually the official camera for the SEA Games last year. So it's really cool how far Sony has taken the mirrorless market. But at the same time, you used it for sports and you used it for some of it, for those events and things like that, and you really liked it. But for me, my experience was using it for the photo shoots that we did, and also I tried to do like some street style stuff, and it was actually very different. It wasn't as fun, with the camera. There's always practicality, which I really hold in high regard, and there's also that fun factor. With the A6500, it was really fun. With Leicas, they're so much fun because they're so different and they're so niche that there is this need to just really think outside of the box. You're just using the camera differently from how you would shoot, and I'm used to that. I'm used to really just changing my style from now and then. But with the A9, it's like it's built so much for work that it takes a lot of fun out of it, and that's what DSLRs have become for me. DSLRs have become these big bulky machines that I really just don't have any joy in using. There's no more joy in picking up a camera and just going out and taking photos. It's always for work. It's always for things that gives me stress. It's always for clients, and it's always trying to reach the expectations. With the A9, it kind of brought that back for me. So when we were doing the photo shoots with you, I found it a little hard to actually have that kind of fun factor with the camera. And it's not that it's a bad thing. It's good that it's practical. It's good that it's good for work. But at the same time, if you're a creative and you're really looking to be creative on the spot and being inspired on the spot, I think that it's kind of boiled down back to that area where it's more of a work style camera. On that note, shooting the Rastaclat photo shoot that we did
Shout out to Rastaclat.
was really good. Sponsored by Rastaclat. They're really cool. Check them out. Link is in the description. I really liked that photo shoot because at the same time that we had this sort of professional camera, I actually got to use the features that it had. So we got that really nice walking shot where you were walking across the frame. That was super cool. I really liked that. And we got to shoot in like kind of a little bit of dark space where there's not really much light, but we used available light and we pushed the ISO. And the colors turned out phenomenal. The pictures turned out really, really cool. It has so much detail. It showed faithfully what I wanted to show. And that's just again the testament to how perfect the A9 is. And I think perfect is a good word to use, and it's not a word that you can use always for any sort of camera, because the A9 was built for perfection. People say, Sony said that this is built for speed, and the A7R is built for the image quality, and the A7S is built for the low light. But the A9 encompasses everything, and it has double the battery life. It shoots 20 frames per second. You can make GIFs out of your photos. It's everything you ever need in a camera. And I think, in closing, I'm really excited to see where it goes next. Like, what the hell can they do with the A9 II? Like, what even can they improve on? 24 frames per second? That's like shooting a movie. We've sung the praises of the A9, and it's really hard to say anything bad about it. I can't even think of one thing that's bad about the A9.
I think the A9 deserves all the praises that it gets because, so to me personally, so you said the A9 took the fun out of shooting.
Yeah.
I think it's because you had no challenge when you're using the A9. Because for the older cameras that you use, you get challenges because of the flaws of the camera. So
yeah, true.
So if you overcome the challenge, it means you can work your way with the flaw of the camera. But for the A9, there's no flaws, there's no challenges, so it's easy for you to use it to get those shots, and which means there was no fun in using the camera because there was no memorable experience except that it was a good camera. It has all those specs that give you the opportunity to get those perfect shots, perfect moments.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I didn't really think about it. Yeah, because we're so used to, I'm so used to using what I have, right? It's always about
working your way with what you have.
Yeah.
But for the A9, it somehow gets all those things
because you have everything
so well.
You know, you have the whole spectrum of the performance from image quality up to whatever burst rate that you need. I guess so.
So the second half of SUKMUM for me, the last 2 weeks were so easy. So I didn't have to worry about the image quality, those moments where the
pivotal moments.
The pivotal moments for each sports event. So for football, you have to get the goal.
Yeah, the celebration.
Yeah, the celebration after the player gets the goal. So it was easy for me for shots like that because the A9 it does so perfectly.
I guess so. I guess that, but then it's not. Then it's good, right?
It's good.
I think that we're so used to. I mean, I'm so used to disappointment. it's so depressing to hear that we're so used to being disappointed that when something so good comes along that we're like, why is this so different? It's actually because it's so perfect. Oh, that's really cool. I like
So
that.
it was sad for me that we have to return the camera to Sony.
I think that we are both very, very grateful to Sony that they actually, agreed to collaborate with us. It was really cool that we got to put it together in just a few days. I think in a week, in less than a week, we contacted them, and then they were like, yeah, sure, what do you need? And we just told them what we needed, and they were so happy to help us, and we owe them a lot in actually always providing us with stuff to use, especially this website, The Fear. And I owe a lot to you for this review. Thank you very much. The photos came out amazing after that we talked about where you got used to the camera and that camera actually showed its full potential to you and you instantly took it to where you needed to be.
The experience was amazing.
Yeah, and thank you to Rastaclat for sponsoring the photo shoot. Check them out. Link is in the description. Check Fariq's work out at his Tumblr and his Instagram. He posts a lot there very constantly, not like me. And I guess that's gonna wrap it up. I think that, the A9 is definitely, in closing, a definitely perfect camera. There's nothing that can beat it right now. Sony is really sticking it to the big guys, and they have actually taken over the market, against Canon, against Nikon, against any other camera right now. So those are facts. I can show you the evidence, but not in this video. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.
Bye.